This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good evening, everybody. Keith Engel, TGI Sports Talk College Football Huddle. How are you tonight? Good to be back on this wonderful Wednesday evening. Lots to talk about. Huge weekend, big upset last weekend. We'll get to all of that soon. Thank you again to all the groups that'll allow me to share this to their sites later on tonight. You guys have been wonderful, the college football sites and some of the individual league sites, team sites. Lots to talk about tonight. Our last live show, I will do a show next Wednesday. I'm leaving on vacation tomorrow. Next Wednesday night, I'm going to try to do a little bit live. I don't know what kind of signal I'm going to get. We're going to try to do something for a little bit anyway. Tonight, and I'll let you more. Excuse me. I'll let you know more about that as we go through the week, and I can keep you up to date. Tonight, we're going to talk Alabama's loss last week, throwing things into chaos a bit. We're going to have Mark Mancini will be on with us a bit later today, about 7:30, only on for about 15 minutes. And we'll be joined by Wake Forest color analyst Lary Sorensen tonight. Wake is on a roll. They escaped with a win at Syracuse. I see Dave Gayette, speaking of Syracuse. Good evening, Dave. Good to see you. Look at, say what you want. Wake Forest is playing really good football in the ACC, and really the ACC's only chance of getting to a playoff would be a 13-0 Wake Forest Demon Deacons team. The question is, can they get there? It'll be interesting. We'll talk to Lary Sorensen about that and more later on. He'll be on with us about 7:45. We'll talk about some other ACC news and maybe see what Larry thinks about a couple other topics. Good evening, Mickey Delaney. Good afternoon to you, actually, out there in the state of Washington. Great to see you. Guys, let's start at the top. I thought a couple of weeks ago, to be honest with you, I've lost like all my banners. It's so hard to keep track of my banners. All right, at the top, Alabama loses. I thought, after they had a close call against Florida a few weeks back, that they were vulnerable, but then they went out and they blew out Mississippi. They had a couple really good, solid performances, and I thought it was just a blip in the radar. Florida's not that good, though. And they gave Alabama a scare. But I didn't think it was going to be Texas A&M. Texas A&M with their backup quarterback, Zach Zalzada. I'm not sure I got his name right. Hadn't played well. Texas A&M had come off back-to-back losses to Arkansas, a really good Arkansas team, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then Mississippi State had looked really bad doing it. Their offense had been a disaster. So what do? They pull off a stunner, 41-38 over number one Alabama. Alabama's first loss in 2 years nearly. Coming from behind with their backup quarterback. And they beat the number one team in the country. So the question is, Alabama's loss opens the door for what? It opens the door for Cincinnati now to move, who's moved into the coaches poll at number 4 in the coaches poll, actually number 3 in some of the other polls. But Alabama's still got a path to the playoff. They only fell to number 5. Georgia's clearly the number 1 team in the country now. Iowa gets 1 vote for number 1. So what's it open a door for? Opens the door wider for Cincinnati, but no margin for error. They got to be undefeated. It opens the door back up for a once-lost Ohio State team. Potentially the Big Ten gets 2 teams in now. The SEC could still get 2 teams in. But who else does it open a door for? Does it open a door for the Pac-10? I don't think so. They're too weak. Does it open a door for somebody else in the SEC? Possibly, but, who else is good enough? Or Georgia obviously is going to make the playoff. Alabama still in good shape, but if they have 2 losses, they're likely done. Kentucky, doubt they're going to get by Georgia this weekend. We'll see. Kentucky's played really solid football under Stoops, Coach Mark Stoops. The Big 12 winner should have a better shot now, depending on what happens. But an interesting scenario, and we're going to talk we're certainly going to talk later on. Oh, that's right. I forgot. It opens the door for UConn. Mac McGrath must be here because did UConn actually lose to UMass last week, Mac, by the way? Oh, my God. It's hard to believe. I'm going to tell you what it opens the door for. We're going to talk to Lary Sorensen, and it's a long ways to go. It opens the door for the ACC to get a team in that's not Clemson. Wake Forest climbs up the poll again. They're only at number 16. But a 13-0 Wake Forest ACC winner, if it were to happen, can't be left out. No Power 5 conference has ever been undefeated and won their conference and been left out of the playoff, ever. Of course they lost. We know they did, Mac. Interesting enough, though, UMass has got a better offense than number 2 Iowa. We'll talk about that in a little bit, too. Sticking with this Alabama game, though, this look at, to me, there's all kinds of things, the scenarios that can happen. Now, there were before, but it opens up the possibility that Alabama will not make the playoff. I don't see how they make the playoff with 2 losses, unless Cincinnati stumbles, unless Wake stumbles, unless maybe 2 teams in the Big Ten stumble. It opens up a lot. It doesn't. You know what it doesn't do, though? I don't think it lets the Pac-12 back in the conversation. People are going to want them back in. So, I don't know what they have a shot at, Mac, but they do have if they don't beat Yale, oh, gosh, UConn's a mess. I feel bad for you. Mac, you must have been happy in Randy Edsall's first go-round when he had that program on the upswing before the Big East, the demise of the Big East. He got that team to the Fiesta Bowl not that many years ago. I want to say 2014. I'm not positive the year. It's a shame what's happened to UConn. I don't know how I got an Alabama banner up and I'm talking about UConn. That's what happens here on the Northeast Streaming Sports Network, and especially on TGI Sports Talk, whether it's a college football huddle or the Sunday Stream of Consciousness. We just go with it. So anyway, just an interesting turn of events with Alabama losing to a Texas A&M team that, again, one of the most disappointing teams this year has been Texas A&M until this weekend. Lots of other stuff to talk about, though. Let's kind of take a look at some other stuff that happened here recently in week, what were we in, week 6, I guess? Okay, let's, we got it here somewhere. Yeah, I guess it's week 5. Whoops. Week 6. We're moving into week 7. Is that right? Oh, my God. Can we really be going into week 7? We are. Week 7 of the college football season. How quickly it goes by. Hate to see it go by. I love college football. Some of the other stories of the weekend, look at Texas and Oklahoma. What did we learn here? I don't know. We learned that Caleb Williams is likely a better quarterback than Spencer Rattler, who was hyped as the preseason favorite for the Heisman, and really has never been able to get off the schneid. He's not a bad football player. Oklahoma showed they're a better team with Caleb Williams, and Lincoln Riley's got a tough decision now to make going forward. What's he going to do this weekend? I don't know that he's I have not seen where he's made any declaration yet of what he will do going forward. So it's going to be interesting. This game last weekend with Oklahoma and Texas got out to a 28-7 lead. I had touted Texas plus 3.5 in the Red River and technically playing at home in this Red River rivalry. And I had it as one of my 3 wagers for the day, and I never hit send. I'm sitting in my office, which is my studio at the moment, after I'd done some chores outside and watched College Game Day and getting ready to get cleaned up so we can go out for a while and do some shopping and go to dinner. And I think to myself, I never hit send on that email. 28-7, getting 3.5. I'm sick to my stomach. Well, turns out Oklahoma comes storming back and wins the game. 55-48. Lots of defense in that game, eh? We're running into this place again where defense doesn't get played in NCAA football. Gosh, I railed on this all last year. No defense being played. Anyway, a great game. Texas proves they're better under Steve Sarkisian, the offense at least, than they were under Tom Herman. They're playing great offensively. They've averaged like 52 points a game since Casey Thompson took over. Casey Thompson, who's got a great legacy of great college football players in his family. So what did we learn? I don't know. I think we saw the best of Texas in the first half and the best of Oklahoma in the second half. So I don't know which team's better. And we may see them again in the Big 12 championship game. But I think we did learn that Caleb Williams is probably going to be the quarterback in one form or another for Oklahoma going forward. Lincoln Riley's got a tough decision. I don't know what he's going to do. Iowa, Penn State. This was a great game as well. Iowa's down double digits in the fourth quarter of this game. And came storming back. Yes, they were helped by the injury to Clifford. But everybody has injuries. And wow, look who's here early. Hang on one second. We'll continue this conversation in a second, after I bring in Mark Mancini from Mancini Media.
Well, I'll tell you, man, I've been doing a lot of running. I've been running from the stadium. I've been doing these XM meetings. I've been dragging caskets on flatbeds to San Francisco.
Are you hiding in a
I'm determined to bring these damn caskets to Atlanta, Georgia.
Well, this isn't a baseball show, so let's not go there. But I'll ask you one question. Are you hiding in a closet from all those Dodger fans right now? Or what? Looks like you're hiding out. I don't know.
I'm kind of, bulletproof vest. A lot of that. Kind of looking like Fletch.
I don't know.
Wearing different aliases and stuff. And
you're becoming way too predictable. I mean, it's going to down goes USC, down goes UCLA, down go the Dodgers, down go the Rams.
They
I
call
think
me Jimmy
for
the
the
Greek
Chargers, they're
Mancini.
not really an LA team.
Jimmy the Greek Mancini.
How are you, Mark?
I'm doing good, my friend. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. Good to see you. I was surprised to see you a little early, so that's good.
Hey, if I got 5 minutes, I can't miss any of your shows. You know that.
I got somebody. Maybe we'll put this up for a second. I don't know what this is about. Somebody posted this in here, but we'll put it up for a minute. Guys, check this out. It's in the comments. Maybe I'll post it. I'll check it out, Henry. We're running a football show here, but I think you shared your stuff before, and I put it on the page. So we'll take a look at it for you, Henry.
Who's he trying out for? The Red Sox?
Well, maybe the Dodgers. I don't know. They found out he hears you talking how bad they are, and he's going to start sending some talent over there.
Oh my God!
Listen, since I got you, and I just talked about obviously the biggest story of the week, in college football, the Alabama loss to Texas A&M, which nobody saw coming. After Texas A&M played horribly for 2 weeks, and probably are one of the bigger disappointments in all of college football, in my mind. And it opens the door for lots of things now to happen, including Alabama still getting in the playoff, by the way. But it brings lots of other things into the conversation. What's your takeaway from that game? I'll back up.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I was very surprised Alabama dropped to number 5. I thought they'd go to at least 3.
Yeah.
Nothing late, lower than that. But, boy, that was a shocker. And a tight game, came up short to Texas A&M, and it dropped them 4 notches. I'll tell you, when the dust clears, Keith, and you and I have talked about this before, it's going to be Alabama and Georgia. And the real question is, who are the other teams that are coming into this thing? Is it Iowa? Is it Penn State? Is it Michigan? Is it Cincinnati? Who is these other 2 teams? Because we're set up for a showdown regardless of what anybody wants or likes. It's going to be Alabama and Georgia at the end. And I will tell you a shocker this week. Kentucky could pull one on Georgia.
Yeah, Kentucky's playing great football, and I talked about that for a brief second, but Georgia's playing so good right now. I mean, they're giving up an average of 5 points a game. That's unbelievable, especially when you think about, they played Clemson. All right, their offense isn't what it was. They played a Arkansas team that had been just blowing people out. That's not nothing when you're in, and their offense is playing well, even with JT Daniels out. So it's going to be tough. And I like Kentucky, and I like Mark Stoops a lot. But that's going to be a tough. That's going to be a tough road.
Well, the problem is Georgia's season's going to ride on getting past the SEC championship game. They seem to have problems with Alabama in those kind of games. So nobody's going to really take Georgia serious till they actually beat Alabama.
Well, you're right. And if they go into that game as they are now with no losses for Georgia, 1 loss for Alabama, if Alabama wins, they're both getting in. If Georgia wins, Alabama's not getting in with 2 losses. If you got an undefeated Cincinnati team, and think about this, I'm going to have Lary Sorensen on it at 7:45. Wake Forest gets to 13-0. They got a long ways to go, and they've had some nail biters here recently. But the ACC's back in play, and the only team that can get in is Wake Forest running the table and being 13-0. No Power 5 team has ever been left out of the playoff if they won their conference and were undefeated, ever.
Well, not only that, that's why you need to get 12 teams into this mix. I keep telling everybody out here, Arizona State, they're going to be hard-pressed to get into this thing. They got 1 loss. I mean, but look what they've done. They've built a thing under Herm Edwards there, and they got a great quarterback. I like Arizona State. I'm giving people the field out here. Hell, I'll buy the beers, man. Just give me Arizona State. You can have the field in the Pac-12.
Yeah, I just don't. The one thing I said this in the open, that the one thing I think the Alabama loss did not open up the door for was the Pac-12 sneaking back in the conversation. I just don't see it because they're beating each other out up there, or beating each other up over there, and I think it's going to continue. Now, if Herm and his team run the table and finish, 12-1, or I'm not sure how many games they got left, 12-1, 13-1, whatever it is, then they'll get some consideration because they'll have to have beaten a good Oregon team to get there. So,
well, and the other thing is, who knows? You can host an Ohio State or some Michigan. depending on that in the Rose Bowl January 1st. So that could be a big one too.
Good point. Good point. I mean, they're going to they're going to be in line for a decent bowl game for sure. But again, yeah, this
I'll tell you one thing: these Harbaughs, man, I love, Jim and John, man, and look at what's going on in Michigan, man, and everybody keeps pointing, to they got to beat Ohio State, kind of like Georgia, they got to beat Alabama, but he's got these boys on a roll, man. Look at the Wolverines.
Oh, well, look at, the Wolverines and the Spartans both. The state of Michigan's off to they got two teams in the top 10 there.
God, I wonder if Magic has been given prep talks at Michigan State, man.
Well, four teams from that Big Ten East in the top 10. That's amazing to me, and that's the strength of that division, the conference overall. And Iowa's got kind of a cakewalk now, probably to the championship game. But you got a four-way battle here amongst other teams to get there, and quite a round robin. Michigan's got probably the toughest road there. I mean, they've still got Ohio State. They've still got, I don't know who they got now. I forget. But I know they got some tough games ahead of them.
Yep.
And they're going to have earned it. Everybody's earned where they are now. And look, nobody expected them to be 6-0. Nobody expected Michigan State to be 6-0. There's some great stories there. And Ohio State, you know what? They got to beat Michigan, and they might have to. They play Michigan State. Let's take a quick look.
Well, the other team that could drop out of the equation here is, and I don't know how they rallied because I like Texas a lot, is I don't think Oklahoma's going to stay in that top four. I really don't, because they pulled something out of their hat the other day, man. I mean, Texas dominated that game too, and I don't know how they pulled that game out, but I don't think Oklahoma's going to be in this mix.
Well, you may very well see those two teams play again in the Big 12 championship game. I think I said earlier before you came on that I think what we saw there, I don't know which team's better yet. I think you saw the very best that Texas has in the first half and the very best that Oklahoma has in the second half. And I don't know if I really learned anything. I learned that Oklahoma's probably got their best quarterback in Caleb Williams and not Spencer Rattler, though. I think I learned that.
Well, and out here, I don't mind going toe-to-toe with Keyshawn Johnson or Willie McGinnis. USC is a tragic story, man.
Yeah.
They are sad. They haven't had a national champion in 18 years here, man. Come on, man. A storied school like this, tradition and everything, and you're getting beat 1 week by a team that hadn't won out here in about 60 years, and then you get beat by another team that hadn't won in 105 years.
Yeah,
what kind of program is this?
We're gonna find out whether that's even a great job anymore as they start interviewing candidates. And you and I will talk about that probably after the season when a coaching carousel really heats up. I don't think that job's as good as it used to be. We'll talk about that more. Rick, I think, is commenting on our conversation about the Big Ten. It depends on who they play. I mean, I know Rick's a big Georgia fan, and the SEC is really, really good. But nobody, Georgia doesn't. They play great defense. Alabama doesn't play any defense. So it's going to be interesting. I don't think Michigan can beat either one of those teams. I don't think Michigan State can beat either one of those teams. I do think Ohio State can beat either one of those teams, but they may not get a chance.
Well, how about Iowa?
Iowa, you know what? Interesting point. I like Iowa a lot. I love Kirk Ferentz. Their defense is the number 2 defense in the country, number 1 in takeaways, but they have the worst ranked offense of any number 2 ranked team in the playoff era. They rank behind UMass, who beat UConn this last weekend.
Well, I
don't know if they got enough offense to stay with one of those teams.
I think Ole Miss could take out Oklahoma. I don't know what you think on that one, but I think Ole Miss. I mean, what Kiffin's doing down there, man, is amazing.
I think Ole Miss can beat any team in the country except Georgia and Alabama. That's what I think.
Right. I totally agree on that point of view.
So let's talk about this for a second too. Since we're on the SEC, we'll move off the Big Ten. We know what's going on there. Those teams in the West or the East, they've all got a gauntlet to play. They got to play each other yet. All of them have to play each other. Michigan State, Ohio State, and Michigan all got to play each other. And Penn State, who's got, and you got Iowa State. Boy, I'm having trouble here. Yeah. I'm in vacation mode, man. I'm happy right now. Ohio State, Penn State, each with a loss. It's going to be very tough to get two teams in here because they're going to beat each other up. Same thing as the Pac-12. Anyway, let's move on to the SEC. You were talking about Ole Miss. That football game with Arkansas was a great football game Saturday afternoon. A lot of questions. I heard a lot of people question this. We talked a little bit about it Sunday morning about the fact that the coach Pittman went for 2 at the end of that game when he tied it. And to me, it was his only choice. His only choice, if he wants to win that game and not get his team just wasted for the next month, because that game could have gone on till Sunday morning.
Oh, yeah. 52-51.
His only choice was to go for 2 and try to win the game there.
Yeah,
so,
and
right?
I'll tell you, when you look at it, and Arkansas is a tough little squad too. I mean, there's some teams out there, and I look at my hometown of Pitt. The Panthers are rolling. They got a nice little thing there. I mean, that loss to Western Michigan didn't help, but they got one loss on their one little blemish, if you want to call it.
Yeah. Well, they're looking good. Again, to me, the ACC's got no shot for a playoff unless Wake runs the table, and then that's the only way they get there. And
there were high accolades from Miami this year. You know what happened there?
Yeah, Miami's just a dumpster fire. I want to say hi to John Gonzalez from the Sports Authorities. I always want to say hi to John and thank John for his support for this show and all the Northeast streaming sports shows.
Great guy.
He runs a great group over there, and he's a good guy. We're always happy to see John. And we didn't get a chance to say hi to Rick. I'll say hi to Rick now. Looking for his.
He's a good man too, man. Georgia boy there.
Looking for his cheesesteaks.
Yeah, we got it. Yeah, 2 weeks we go off, man, in Philly.
That's right. Give us a little plug there before we forget.
Yeah, October 28th, and that should be an interesting night in Philly. The Pistons, I think, are playing the Sixers. I think the Flyers are in Vancouver, so it's going to be an interesting thing. We'll see where the Eagles are, and maybe we'll have some movement with the Phillies.
Well,
they need help.
We got no college football in Philadelphia, though. And Temple's good once every 12 years. So.
I think everybody's holding on to Penn State.
Oh, that's not really Philadelphia, though. I mean,
yeah,
right. It's not even close. It's like, where the heck is Happy Valley? I'm not even sure.
God, that's going to be.
I think it's in the western part of Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Well, I think it's up near, not too far from Scranton, if I'm not mistaken.
That's entirely possible. Yeah. Well, anybody out there wants to tell us where Happy Valley is, we'll be happy. I'm not I'm terrible at geography. I'm doing a webinar today for my real job, and we get talking about tech. We're talking about government bidding and things like that. I don't know. I'm talking about this on my college football show, but it's hilarious. My sense of geography is horrendous. I'm talking about Texas, and I'm saying, well, you should be reaching out to the states surrounding you, like Kansas, that border you, like Kansas.
Yeah, it'll take you 2 days to get out of Texas.
I came up with one state that actually bordered Texas, and I named 5, and I'm like, that's how bad my geography is. So.
Yeah, that's boy, I'll tell you one thing. If you ever drive in Texas, man, at least back east, you go through one state and you can get into 6-7 states. You get in Texas, man, it'll take you 2 days to get out of there.
You know what? It's funny. I didn't have this on my talking points tonight, but the state of Texas, it's got some really good football teams right now. Texas, we know about on the upswing with Steve Sarkisian. SMU's undefeated in the American Football Conference and going to give Cincinnati a run here at some point when they play each other. TCU's got a good team, bouncing back a little bit. Baylor's got a team on the upswing. You got some good football teams again in the state of Texas.
Well, it's funny, SMU, man. I remember the Craig Jameses and the Eric Dickersons out of that great university.
The Pony Express.
And I used to have a guy that called me from San Diego. Big TCU guy every week, man.
There we go.
TCU, coming back, man, coming back.
Rick must have Googled it. We got 240 miles.
240 miles, man. Woo!
So,
thanks, Rick.
Yeah, you can't be claiming that as your home team out there when you're on Philly radio. I can tell you.
No. You can get to New York faster.
Any other takeaways from last week that you got, Mark?
I'm really disappointed in that loss by Texas, man. Watching that game and seeing Oklahoma come back in that Red River rivalry, I couldn't believe it.
Great football game. I mean, I was happy. I told you I didn't get my bet in on Texas, and I was really sick to my stomach when it was 28-7. So I was rooting for Oklahoma, and they actually came back and made me look good. What about this week? What are you looking at? Not as many big games this week as we've had, but we still got some good matchups, I think. And obviously, you talked about Kentucky, Georgia. I'm sure Rick's going to weigh in on this. Kentucky's played very well. They don't have a tremendous offense. They run the ball pretty well. They don't score a lot of points. They scored a few against Florida last week, but Florida's on a down year, I think. Even as they knew they were rebuilding. I know you think Kentucky's got a shot here. If this game were at home, I might give them a puncher's chance. But I think Georgia's shown me nothing to make me think anybody right now that they've got on their schedule till Alabama can give them a game.
Well, this is a trap game if you look at it. It really is. I don't think Kentucky. Everybody's figuring, Georgia's going to roll them, even though Kentucky's undefeated. But I don't. If you're a Georgia player there, you better. Not take these guys for granted because they can spring one on you. So, I mean, I know a lot of people aren't giving them a puncher's chance, like you say, but Kentucky's playing at house money.
I just get, I just have this feeling that Georgia's kind of on a mission here. They know they got to be undefeated, get to that SEC championship game. They don't have much on their schedule after this. I mean, they got Florida, they got Mizzou, Tennessee. Chicago, I don't even know what the heck that one is, to be honest with you. CHSO, I don't even know who that is.
Chicago Loyola.
No, it's not that. It's got to be an FBS, one team, not even a FBS school. And they got Georgia Tech. They don't have. This might be their last hurdle. I mean, they got Florida at home, so I don't see any. The largest cocktail party in the world, but I don't see them giving them a run either right now. I think Georgia's got a walk to undefeated in
wow.
SEC.
You know what? I like to match up Pitt and Georgia. It's been a long time since we played them guys. I wouldn't mind seeing a Pitt Georgia game.
Where are you going to see that, though? Pittsburgh's not making a playoff.
Yeah, it'd be a computer fight like Rocky Marciano and Muhammad Ali.
I mean, if Pitt could get into the same playoff game, but I don't see Pitt making a playoff, unfortunately. Although I do love their quarterback. Their quarterback's going to get some play for the Heisman. I think he'll get some votes here if he continues.
You also got to give it to Daniel out there in Arizona State, Rattler with Oklahoma. I mean, there's some guys here.
I think Rattler's done. I don't even think you're going to. He may start one more.
How about Young with Alabama?
Alabama. He's probably the front runner along with Corral at Mississippi, I think, are the two front runners myself.
Yeah, that's going to be Chattanooga
Southern. Chattanooga Southern.
Come on, man. How do you bring these Chattanooga choo-choos in here?
John Gonzalez quick on that one. He must be
Oh, my God, John. Welcome.
John, I know you're not an alumnus or anything, so you really know your stuff if you know that one.
This is, come on, Georgia. You can get somebody better than Chattanooga Choo-Choo on the schedule.
Oh my gosh. Let's look at what time we got here. I know you got to go here. I want to make sure we have time for our.
I got 10 minutes.
We got time here. Let's look at some of the games for this upcoming week and see what we think about's going on. Cincinnati rolled last week against Temple. No letdown there for them. They got a UCF team this week at home that is kind of in a down year themselves. I like, this UCF team is going to be a program to be reckoned with for a while. With the facilities they're putting together,
Yeah,
they're going to be able to do some great recruiting. Gus Malzone, I still think is going to be a great fit there. You think they think they can give Cincinnati a run here at all this week? I don't.
I think Cincinnati's on a mission. You see what they're doing. And, they went into Notre Dame. They took care of business. They just keep the train going. They're hell-bent on sticking and staying in the top 4 here. So, boy, the committee's going to have their hands full if you start to see some of these teams. We could have like we had last year where they brought Ohio State in and left Texas A&M home.
There's going to be somebody upset at the end of the day here this year. It's impossible for there not to be, in my mind. I mean, there's just going to be.
That's why you need a system. That's why you need a playoff system. That's why you need 12 teams. And you know what? After we have 12 teams, somebody's going to, complain here about, I'm the 13th team. I deserve to be a shot.
That's right. John's a hurricane guy like me. We stink.
Yeah, Vinny Testaverde and the boys down there.
Forgot about that, John. Thank you for sharing it, and I share your pain. Believe me, they're horrendous. We ought to do it. Let's take a quick look. Here's what we'll do for the next. We got to go through it quickly. We're going to go quickly through the undefeated teams, and we're going to say who stays undefeated and who doesn't. Now we can't see their schedules. It's going to take us too long to do it, but let's just a quick run through this. SMU.
I say they stay undefeated.
That means they beat Cincinnati, and you're saying Cincinnati won't.
Well, I just think, that's going to be an interesting game. Close, but I think it's going to be a shocker. I think SMU can do it.
Interesting. So I'm going to say they don't, and Cincinnati does. So that takes care of those two. Wake Forest.
Well, I know Lary Sorensen's coming on in about 10 minutes, so I don't want him to get on the bandwagon to hate Mancini and chase me like the Dodger fans. So I'm taking Wake Forest.
Tell you what, they can do it. They got Army, Duke, UNC, who's a huge disappointment. Yeah. North Carolina State might be their toughest test. Clemson.
Yeah, Clemson's good. Wow, how the mighty have fallen.
Right. I mean, it's possible it can be done. I'm going to say no, only because I got a feeling NC State, Clemson, one of those teams beats them. Sorry, Larry. I'll be rooting for them, though. That's my team now. Miami's dead to me for this year. So I'm not jumping ship, John Gonzalez. I'm just I like a good story. So I'll help my friend Lary Sorensen get to an undefeated season. Next up, Oklahoma. I think I know your answer there.
I don't think they do it. I don't think they do it because they might have another shot at Texas, and Texas ain't going to blow this opportunity. So I don't think Oklahoma goes undefeated.
Also in the Big 12, Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Watch out for Oklahoma State. They're playing some really good defense. I'm going to say neither one of those stays undefeated. Now, these teams can't all stay undefeated for sure. Michigan and Michigan State.
Michigan, I think, can.
So you have them.
I think this is Harbaugh, man. I think he's been ridiculed, vilified, hung in Ann Arbor. I think he's going to do something special this year.
So then you've got. So that means. So I'm only talking up to the playoffs. So you've got them beating Ohio State and beating Iowa in the Big Ten championship game.
I do, and that albatross around the neck. He can't beat Ohio State. He will beat them this year.
Okay. So that brings us to Iowa, and you obviously think they will not stay undefeated.
No, they will not stay undefeated because Michigan will put them up.
I say they will stay undefeated.
Wow.
And whoever comes out of the East, Iowa beats them, but they'll get killed in whoever they match up with in the playoff. That's
so
they don't.
You might see a Michigan Arizona State game in the Rose Bowl then.
You could.
Wow.
Here's an interesting one: University of Texas San Antonio.
Who?
The Roadrunners of Texas San Antonio. They're undefeated. I'm going to say they.
Hey, does Greg Popovich have any stake in that team down there?
I'm going to say they do not stay undefeated.
No.
Be my pick there. Let's see. Who else we got undefeated here? We got to get to our other thing here.
I got to remember that one.
Yeah. We still got a couple somewhere here. Let me go down. San Diego State. Out in the Mountain West.
God,
underrated.
I'll tell you one thing, man. I covered them for a lot of years in San Diego.
24th
stick with the Aztecs. I'm gonna say they stay undefeated.
24th in the country. I think they lose a game somewhere here. This league is too tough. Air Force is good this year. Boise State had a big win against BYU last week, so they're on the upswing a little bit. Nevada's plays good football. Somebody's gonna beat them.
I'll tell you one thing. They're copying their basketball team.
Pac-12 is done, obviously. Sorry. Georgia.
Well, here we go. Kentucky and Georgia. I think Georgia's not going to go undefeated. I think Alabama's going to knock them out, and I wouldn't be surprised if Kentucky pulls one on them. Shocker.
Oh, so
an Appalachian State against a Michigan.
You think that they will? Let me bring something up here. John's got a couple comments before I go on here. He likes the Bearcats. He thinks Michigan might go undefeated.
Yeah.
You there? I don't know if I agree with either one of you guys. He thinks, Chattanooga will beat Texas San Antonio. There's the loser for Texas San Antonio. I knew there was somebody on that schedule. It's Chattanooga. Chattanooga's all over the board time.
Who is sponsoring that game? The Cartoon Network?
Chattanooga's got more time on this show than they've gotten all year long. Okay, so you got Kentucky.
I'll tell you one thing. I'm not going to be. I'll tell you, man. I could look like a genius when you come back from vacation if Kentucky pulled one on them.
Yeah, you could. So you're going to say Kentucky,
but they will not. They will not stay undefeated because Alabama's going to get them.
Exactly, and that leaves Coastal Carolina.
That's an interesting one. Wow.
15th in the country. Not a great, strong league, but they
I don't think so. I don't think they do.
They probably got their toughest test, I would say, this week against Appalachian State.
Yeah, I don't think they do.
Interesting matchup. All right, we only got a couple minutes. It's time for you and I to move to. If I could find a banner. I got too many banners again. I gotta get a producer to run this damn board for me while I'm
got the bet. Look at man, this shop is better than Pardon the Interruption, man. Look at the way you got it set up.
I try, but I can't. They got guys that put it up there for them.
I said, I got to get in here, man, before you go on vacation because I'm going to miss you for a week.
I know. I'm going to try to go live, but I'm not going to have any way to bring you in because I don't know if I'm going to have any reception until I get out. So we're going to get
waves on that cruise can send the signal to the north, the south, the east, or the west.
I'm going to get something. I just don't know how good it's going to be. So here we got to do this before you go. We only got a minute. Give me your dead solid lock for the week.
God, I'll tell you the dead solid lock. Man, that's going to be a tough one. I think UCLA wins. That's my solid lock. I think they're playing. Is it Washington?
UCLA has good. Well, let me find out here. Hold on.
I know they had a scrub against Arizona. USC plays Notre Dame in another week. They got a bye, so I think UCLA's got Washington.
I think they've canceled the season out there in the Pac-12. I can't find the league. Oh, maybe because I went by the.
UCLA's playing one of those Washington schools. I don't care who it is.
Washington. They play Washington. They play Mickey Delaney's Washington team.
Yep. UCLA will win that one. That's my lock.
My lock will be Georgia puts a whooping on Kentucky.
That's my don't be surprised if Kentucky beats Georgia.
Right. Excellent. That's a good one. And I'm going to give you don't be surprised if Army goes to Wisconsin.
Wow.
And is I'm not going to say they win. This is always my out, right? Because I do this every week. I did it with Nebraska. I did it with Rutgers. Don't be surprised if Army goes to Wisconsin and is in position to win the game in the fourth quarter.
Wow. Nice one.
So there you go.
Well, I'll tell you, my brother, you got the best show sweeping the networks. I'm going to pray for a safe vacation for you. I can't wait to see you when you get back. And a week from Sunday, I'll be ready to go with the NFL.
All right. We'll be talking about it. I'll see you, and I'll be in touch.
Yeah. I
All
love
right.
you. Love those listeners, baby.
Stay away. Watch out for the Dodger fan.
Yeah. Send me some security and some more bulletproof vests.
Just stay in that closet with no windows or anything. You'll be fine. See you later, buddy.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, brother.
Bye-bye. Well, geez, Flo, I didn't even get a chance to introduce him.
That'll wake you up.
Good grief. I was going to give you a little introduction before I brought you in, and I got Mark out of there. So anyway, my next guest is a big friend of the show, and I'm a big a fan of his. I don't know, friend may be too big a word, but a fan of Lary Sorensen, the color analyst for the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, who we've been talking a lot about for the last half hour. Larry, you guys, since we talked last, have stayed undefeated. Couple of nail biters against Louisville and Syracuse, which can be good learning experiences for a team to learn how to win those games, right?
Well, Wake Forest really hadn't been tested to the point where they had to play hard in the fourth quarter with something on the line, and they got it 2 games in a row. And you know, the kind of seasons that become magical seasons are the ones where you survive those kinds of experience. And I think that Wake was able to squeak through. They've got one great weapon for them. They got the best kicker maybe in the history of NCAA football, and Nick Skiba. He's just unbelievable. And when you've got him on your tool belt going into the fourth quarter, you feel pretty good about things.
Oh, best ever. There's some good NCAA kickers in the world. I remember the Russell Erkslavens of the world. Those guys kicking like 70-yard field goals with the tees back in the day. Remember?
Yeah, and it makes a big difference when you get up. He's hit some up to 60 yards in warm-ups and everything else. But with the way the Wake offense plays, they don't give him the opportunity to make much over 40, really, because Dave Clawson will go for it. And so he says he's got the leg. He feels very confident about it. We had a nice long talk with him up in Syracuse this last Friday night. And, he set the record for consecutive field goals at 34, and he's at 24 now. So he may break his own record. He might have the top 2 longest streaks, and he's got currently the highest percentage for accuracy going on for a career. He's over 90%, which is really unbelievable.
Yeah, those weapons are good in these close games for sure. And you're right. They get. You don't think about the kickers who don't get a chance to kick as much because the coaches have the philosophy that Clawson has. So
the other thing is, Keith, is it's kind of like having a closer in baseball. You've got him down there. When I played with the Cardinals, Whitey Herzog said, I've got Bruce Sutter, so I've got a 7-inning game. And that was the way the whole team approached it, is you figure that if we get there with a lead, we win. And it's kind of that way, having Skiba in your back pocket, too. So that's a nice thing to have. I heard you guys talking about the Army-Wisconsin game. I'm going to be watching that one anxiously because Wake Forest plays at Army the week after.
Tell you, a tough team to play with that. There's not a lot of teams who played that offense anymore, and it's tough to play that when you're used to seeing these pro-style offenses, right?
It is. It's a different kind of an adjustment, and you've got to really spend a lot of time. Now, fortunately, Wake has a week off, so they get a chance to – they've got the bye week, so they get a chance to prepare for it a little more. But Dave Clawson's record after a bye week is not very strong, so he's tried a number of different things. We'll see what he does this time. Yeah,
actually, the bye week was one of my questions, and whether you thought it was going to be a blessing or a curse. I mean, again, when you're preparing for a team that's so different than anybody else you've played, I would think it helps. But when you've got the momentum of that they've had leading up to this bye week, does it hurt you in that sense? You get healthy, you get a chance to rest up, but does it slow down that momentum and derail the train a little bit, do you think?
Well, kind of things, and one of the things that you mentioned, the health, is part of the reason that they are so healthy is because they do have the depth, which we've talked about many, many times before. And when you look at using the depth, they're still at a point where they're basically running 3 running backs, and they come out for the first series and Christian Beal-Smith runs. They come out for the second series and Justice Ellison runs. They come out for the third series and Christian Turner runs. And he kind of rotates them for the first half, especially to see who gets hot. But he still plays at least 2 backs in the second half. He tries to do the same thing up front with the offensive line, does the same thing in the defensive backfield. So they're in pretty good shape health-wise.
I agree. Sorry, I was reading a comment here that made me laugh, but Rick Sherlock had thought Mark had a little too much Zambuca in his coffee tonight. And Army, John Gonzalez. By the way, John Gonzalez runs a Sports Authority group on Facebook. One of the best groups, sports groups out there. He has some wonderful stuff from wonderful people posting, and he's a good friend of the show and Northeast Streaming Sports because he allows us to share our content. And want to get his reactions tonight. He's a Miami Hurricane fan, so he might jump ship to Wake Forest like I am now. We might jump on that bandwagon. I don't know.
Well, that's a weird team down in Miami, and Wake Forest doesn't play them this year. But there's some seem to be some interesting things going on with that program.
Yeah,
that'll be a watch the coach's hot seat type situation.
I was going to say, I mean, is there anything you've heard? I mean, the articles I read is that Mandy Diaz is going to be in trouble there if they don't turn it around.
Well, those are the rumors, but there's a lot of rumors. There are just a lot of rumors that go around out there. I personally think that he's done a decent job with them. I think he's building it the right way, and I think he'll be back. I don't have any insight to base that on except a gut feeling saying that he'll be back.
Yeah, I'm going to circle back to Wake Forest in a second, but since we're talking about this topic, I talked about it a little bit last week on this show, and it involves 2 teams specifically in the ACC that have been that were tradition. Well, for a long time, powerhouse programs in Florida State and Miami, who have fallen really on hard times, really hard times. I mean, relative to their success in the 70s and 80s and 90s. I mean, what do you attribute that to? I have my own theories of the fact they can't, first of all, you got the UCFs of the world that have gotten better and kids are going to those schools. I think they're going out of state because obviously Florida is a fertile place for recruiting, but they're going to Georgia, they're going to Alabama. They're probably going to Wake Forest and Clemson. I mean, what's your thoughts on the demise and the inability to revive those programs?
Yeah, Wake Forest has 11 kids from the state of Florida on their roster this year. Now, having said that, it's $85,000 to go to school at Wake Forest. So, they're a national recruiting type of program because they have to be. It's a real tough academic school. They were ranked 27th in the country in the U.S. News and World Report college rankings. So academically, to get in and with that kind of a private school tuition room and board, you're pretty selective about what you can get in there. Florida State is a really weird situation, and it used to be they got their pick of the kids in Florida, and I think that we've just seen so many, as you said, so many other programs have raised the level of what they do that it's even the talent out. I also think that parity has hit college football a lot more, not just this year, but in the last couple of years. And I think that it's going to be even more interesting watching down the road. I think we're not going to see the full effect of all the COVID fallout for another 2 to 3 years.
That's a good point. And it's one I know you keep bringing up, and I think you're probably right. The more I see things unfolding, I think you're onto something there.
I'm too simple to wrap my head around much else, so I keep going back to that dead horse.
No, it works. I mean, if that's the reality, that's where you got to keep going to.
Yeah, well, we got to spend about 45 minutes at a table again at Syracuse with Dave Clausen after he came back from his Saturday morning run before the game. And I'll tell you what, man, you just learn so much when you sit down with those guys. And he's a bright guy. Hope to heck that Wake Forest can keep him for a number of years more. But you really learn, and when he talks about how he constructs his roster and the things that he looks at, his big board for recruiting, and who do you keep space for? And Wake Forest has a great tradition of keeping kids beyond their matriculation. So they'll come back and they'll get their master's degree, and then they'll stay more if they have the opportunity. And because of the way things have shaken out, that's why you have so much experience this year. But there's a big plan, and it's going to be a couple of years yet before it really gets sorted out. And the NCAA made a little adjustment, that 7 roster spot. They're going to have to go further than that.
Well, we're staying Wake Forest again in your team for a minute. I want to talk about a couple of stories, and there's a couple of comments here that I'll wait to share. I think I will share this one. John still thinks, and I'm sure a lot of people do, they think of Tim Duncan and not football when it's Wake Forest, but Wake Forest has had some decent years in the past in football. It's not like they've been a dumpster fire like Connecticut or somebody. Sorry, Mac, if you're still watching.
Well, they had a great run from 2006 through 2009, went to the Orange Bowl with Jim Grobe, and they just didn't have the facilities to compete. And now with the facilities that they've built, you're going to see different kinds of athletes getting into Wake Forest too. They're getting into different living rooms, and you'll start to see in the ranking systems of recruiting, you'll start to see him go up a little bit. And Tim Duncan is a great one. Chris Paul is the other fair-haired guy around Winston-Salem because he's a Winston-Salem kid. And he was just recently inducted into the Hall of Fame. Got to spend a little time with him, and he still comes home occasionally. But he's a big proponent of the school and everything else. So it has been a basketball school in the past, and hopefully Steve Forbes can get it back to there. But right now they've been to 5 bowl games in a row, which is pretty good, pretty darn good. And actually became bowl eligible with their win over Syracuse Friday night. So it'll be 6 bowls in a row.
Well, not to jinx them and not to put you on the spot, but let's dream a little bit. Because to me, and I've talked about this on the show earlier tonight and on my Sunday show the other day, the only shot the ACC's got to get in the playoff is an undefeated Wake Forest team. It's the only path to the playoff for the ACC that I see. And if that were to happen, I mean, if they got to 13-0, no undefeated Power 5 team has won their conference and been left out of the playoff in the playoff era. So
Speaking of too much Sambuca in the coffee, I mean, it seems strange to even say that, doesn't it? To think that Wake Forest is the ACC's best shot, and they would have to go 13-0, win the conference championship in Atlanta in December in order to get there. And I'm not sure they still would. I really am not 100%.
You think they would bypass them at 13-0, really?
Yeah, I could see some other teams getting in there for one loss over a 13-0 Wake just by downgrading the conference so much. I'm not sure that that's fair. I don't think it's right, but I think that there's a possibility that it could happen.
Yeah, the only one-loss team I would put in there would be Alabama and or Georgia. Maybe if they both have 1 losses, they're getting in. Both of them are getting in with 1 loss because Georgia's loss is going to be to Alabama, and Alabama's good if they get 1. So
you would have to think that's the way it shakes out. But boy, it's been a strange season. I heard someplace now that there have been 20 ranked teams, 34 ranked teams that have lost, something like that. And it's just unbelievable. You don't know from week to week. And half the football season is left. The beauty of it is half the season is still left. So I hesitate to go out and make too many brash predictions at this point. See me again in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm not asking you to predict it. I'm just asking you to dream a little bit. That's all.
Believe me, those dreams are very, very active in Winston-Salem.
I'm sure they are, and it's great. It's a great conference. I told you before that, while I like the Hurricanes, I'm married into the Hurricane family, basically, and I like good stories. I don't think of myself as a bandwagon jumper. I like good stories. Wake Forest is a great story, and if we're to continue this, it'll be a huge story. Cincinnati, it's a great story, right?
Is a great story, no question about it. And Kentucky is a great story, no question about that. Although I really can't see them pulling an upset, but we'll find out. We'll find out.
If Cincinnati or Wake Forest or one of these other outsiders gets in the playoff, I guarantee you the 12-team playoff will be next year, and it won't be 4 years from now.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know what's really weird is that you see people that that say, well, it's a weak conference because a team that nobody expects to be good is playing well and is doing well, and so they say, well, we need our big stalwarts to be the teams in the playoffs to show that the college football is right. But now we're getting away from that, and there's two schools of thought. Is it good football when you have 6 really good teams and they're going to make a 4-team playoff, or is it better for college football when you've got 16 teams that might be making a 12-game playoff? Which I personally would like to see more teams involved. I think watching the same teams every single year gets boring, and I love, as you just said, I love to see the other good stories that come out of it.
Yeah, I'd rather see Alabama blow out Coastal Carolina in the first round than blow out Notre Dame in a semifinal. I mean, at least I'd rather watch the puncher's chance, right, of Coastal giving them a game.
And good football games. Here's one other thing to think about for just a second, too. Kenneth Walker now is probably the top Heisman pick at this point in time, halfway through. Think if he was in the Wake Forest backfield.
Oh, my gosh, right? That would be amazing. That would be amazing.
So, listen, yeah, he had a couple of those long runs for Wake Forest, too. So,
yeah, for sure. Listen, the remainder of the Wake Forest, schedule, and who would you think? I mean, where do you, if this team stumbles or they're going to get pushed, where do you see it happening? I mean, there's a couple of stumbling blocks. I mean, you got to go to North Carolina. They're a big disappointment this year.
Yeah, oddly enough, that's a non-conference game too. Keep that. Right. Yeah, it's the second non-conference game because Wake Forest and North Carolina both had an opening. So 2 years ago, they played a non-conference game in Winston-Salem. Played a conference game last year, and then went back and this one is a non-conference game again. You got to go to play Clemson at their place. That's no fun. That's no fun. Get North Carolina State at home. And North Carolina State has a hard time at Truist Field in Winston-Salem. That place has been a little bit of a snake pit for them. Yeah. And I think North Carolina State has a very, very good football team. And then the down to North Carolina, down to Clemson, and down to up to Boston College. And Boston College, the last weekend of the year, could be a really, really important game.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think North Carolina State might be the best team left on the schedule myself to kind of back up what you're saying. I think they're better. They beat Clemson, and I think they're better in Clemson at the moment. Clemson could be better in 5 weeks, but
I think that sums it up completely right there. I think at the end of the year, we might look back and say, okay, North Carolina State caught them at a good time.
Yeah,
because they do have so much talent. If they get it straightened out, get it figured out, it does, when you've got that many great players and you get one guy that can get in there to make everything click, they can turn it around pretty quickly and look like a dynamo again.
Well, here's what I'd like to see. I'm going to root for Wake to get at least a Clemson undefeated, because how much fun would that be to be 10-0, go into that environment? Heck, ESPN Game Day might be there for that game. That's going to be
you would think so.
So I'm going to root for that. Let me look for a couple of comments here before I let you go, because I know there was a couple questions ACC related, and I want to get your take on it. So let me back up here a little bit. I know John Gonzalez doesn't think Wake's getting undefeated. I think that's where that comment came from.
It's a long shot. It's a long shot. Everybody knows it, but they've got a terrific, go 1-0 this week kind of attitude, and that's what you go with.
I had a question here.
Very well be right that Clemson will knock him off, but I don't think it's the lock that everybody thinks that it should. I'll tell you what. You watch this Friday night. You watch Clemson at Syracuse. Syracuse can do some damage. They got a terrific ground game. They've they played really well against Wake Forest. They changed their offense in the middle of the year. Wake Forest was lucky to get out of there with the win. And Syracuse is a much better football team than you look at when you look at their record. I
agree, and they played some close games, and they beat a good Liberty team at home with a but the kid is going to be a number 1 draft pick quarterback.
Right. Their quarterback is 6'4", 230, and he's got quick feet too. You know, he doesn't throw well. He doesn't throw the long ball very well, but he dumps the ball out of the backfield to his backs pretty well. And Tucker is a phenomenal running back. So and basically those two guys are the offense. Offensive line opened up some massive holes. They've got an experienced offensive line. Syracuse impressed me. They really did.
Yeah, so this goes along with that. I think I know your answer then. I mean, do we think the Syracuse Dino Babers is safe? I think he's safe because I think he's a really good coach. And he's needed a quarterback and gets consistency at quarterback to get that team to improve. I think he's safe. Do you think he's in any trouble up there in Syracuse?
Well, I think that he was. I think that this change in their philosophy might have saved him quite a bit because they went away from DeVito and got away from the pass as much in the hurry-up offense. I mean, they were running plays with 5-6 seconds left on the game clock, on the clock, and we weren't used to seeing that on the play clock with the Syracuse team. You know, you were always used to seeing 10 seconds run off of it, and they were ready to run another play. So big change. I think he's good, and I really hope he's good because I love him as a coach. I think I've told you this before, that when I would watch the Monday morning press conferences, I would watch the Wake Forest coach, I would watch who they played the week before, who they're playing the next week, and I'd watch Dino just because I liked watching Dino. So
good call. I think you were on a couple of weeks ago when I had James Little here and was asking me about the Southern Miss Rice game. Were you with me that night? You were like, I'm not into predictions, so I can't do that. I told him not to bet the game. I said, here's what I would do. Don't bet that game. But I told him to take Rice with the points, and he won. Now he's got 3 games for me to pick for him tonight. Good grief.
Well,
I will make you some money. I promise, James. Let me get to that.
I'm sure he'll take care of you too.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody does. Listen, I did want to put up one other comment because John Gonzalez wanted to let me know that he did remember seeing you pitch in the big leagues. So I don't want to age you or date you, but
John, all that does is makes you old, man. So you know,
I was gonna say John doesn't look as old as me, but when I see his pictures, but he must be then if he remembers you because I do.
Well, I've still got one of my bubblegum cards up as my picture on, so I don't know what that means. Whatever. You're
looking good. And listen, I appreciate you coming in for these updates, and we will have you back. I'm not going to I'm only going to do a brief show. I'm going to be on vacation next week, so I'm going to be doing something remote for a few minutes, I hope, on Wednesday night if I have a signal. But I'm going to be back to see that Army. Oh, where would I be? Yeah, I'll be able to see that Army game, and I can't wait to watch it. Where are we going to catch? Is that game going to be on the ACC network, you think?
No, it's on CBS.
Is it?
It's a 12 o'clock game on one of the CBS, noon on one of the CBS platforms. So
nice.
It should be a lot. I've never been to any of the military academies, and I've heard it's a spectacular experience. The athletic director is a friend from his days as the associate AD at Wake Forest and a former Major League Baseball player. So really looking forward to the weekend.
Yeah, we talked about it before. I know you're going to enjoy it because I've been there. It's only, West Point's only I don't know, 80 minutes away from my house. So I've been down there quite a few times, and it's a great experience. So I know you're
up to the city to see my grandson for a couple of days and
lots of stuff.
Hang out with my son and my daughter-in-law, and looking forward to it.
It's great to be able to work and have fun all at the same time, and you're going to get to do it. Good. Congratulations to you. I'm going to wish you guys luck against Army, and maybe we'll, definitely before UNC, we might have to have you in here and see where we're at.
Anytime, Keith. There's some really good games coming up. They've got Duke and coming up after Army at Winston-Salem, and should be able to handle them. And the last 4 are just going to be, all right, here we go. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, that's why I say if they run that table, I'm telling you, they're going to have to put them in.
All right, we'll get back to that point.
I hope we get to that point and get to talk about it in December. That'll be fun. Larry, thanks for coming in tonight, and have a great week off.
Anytime. Thanks, Keith.
Bye-bye. The great Lary with Sorensen, wonderful guest all the time, and he does a great job on the Wake Forest games. And as John said, you guys may remember him as a longtime major league pitcher with the Brewers and the Cardinals and a few other stops along the way. good friend of the show. We appreciate having him on. James, I promise you I'm going to get to your picks here, and I will help you out. Let me see what else is going on here. Here's a rumor. Let's check it out. Harbaugh goes undefeated, wins it all. Mark Davis brings him to the Raiders. Possible. Absolutely possible, John. I've talked about the fact that he could end up in Dallas. Dallas is playing well right now, but Jerry's kind of fickle. Jerry likes big names. Could be interesting to see what happens if they were to stumble at all later in the season under McCarthy. They seem, they're playing well now, but they're going to go down to the New England Patriots this weekend. That's a different show. All right, let's see what we got here. I'm going to look at this week's games, and I'm going to help James out here. So I'll say hi to James again. I hope you're still here, James. James, did you bet Rice? You asked me for the winner in that Southern Miss game against Rice a few weeks back. I said, don't bet it, but if you got to bet it, take the points with Rice at home. You made money if you listened to me. So you want help? Let's give James some help. UTEP +7 against Louisiana Tech. Let's see, where's that game being played? I got to check that out. At UTEP, huh? Getting 7. I'm telling you to take UTEP. Louisiana Tech's 2 and 3. They played a better schedule, obviously, than UTEP. But UTEP's played some good football this year. Getting 7 at home, I'll take the 7, James. Hope you're still with me. Give me a thumbs up, buddy. Fresno State -3 at Wyoming. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know if they're at Wyoming or not. That one's a good game. Oh, you got some better games than you gave me last time, buddy. I got to tell you, when you give me Rice and Southern Miss, I'm going to take Wyoming in this game. Again with the points. A home dog, a good team. Fresno's a good team as well. They score a lot of points, give up a lot of points. I like the home team here, the 4-1 Wyoming Cowboys. And lastly, this is a tough one. Arizona State's playing some really good football, like Herm Edwards. Utah's been a bit of a disappointment. Let me just double check something. And again, I'm not big. Oh, that's so Utah's +3, I think you're telling me here, right? So Arizona State's the favorite on the road at Utah. Boy, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. You know what I'm going to tell you, James? Do it again. 3 home dogs, and you got at least 2 out of 3 there. Let me know you're still there. I didn't say hello to Kenny Gifford. Sorry, Kenny. I hadn't scrolled down here. I apologize. John's got Larry's baseball card. Drop one of the R's, though. The name is spelled with only 1 R, believe it or not. And I'd heard, Larry corrected me when I actually interviewed on my Friday interview show. I had heard that Larry was named in honor of, because he's from Michigan and Detroit. I was a Detroit fan, and that his father named him, gave him his first name without the R in honor of, I think it's Frank Lary, the old Tigers pitcher. And apparently that rumor is not true. I read in a book by Rob Nyer. So, Rob, facts are not good. Hang on one second. Somebody's car alarm is going off. We don't get that in this neighborhood. That's funny. So anyway, James, where'd you go? James Lowe, where are you? You're gone on me, buddy. All right, 8:14. Let's get to some other games this weekend. I'm going to give you guys, we're going to take the rundown. Let's just run down the whole schedule today and take a look at what's going on here. All right. So we already had a game this week. Oh, wow. What the heck is that game? I'm in the wrong week. No, I'm not. All right. We already had a game this week. I didn't even know it. Louisiana and Appalachian State already played. Appalachian State, who I just said would be Coastal Carolina's toughest opponent, lost already to Louisiana. Kenny and Rick are getting reacquainted. Glad, Rick, I'm glad you finally got to find out what Kenny had for breakfast Sunday later in the day. Navy at Memphis. I like Navy to get off the schneid here. They're not, well, they've won one game, but I think, Memphis is 3-3. They've hit a little bit of a lull. Navy's playing a little bit better of recent weeks, and I hate to root against the military academy, so I think I like Navy to beat Memphis this week. Some other big games. Clemson at Syracuse. This could be a live dog, guys. Clemson is not Clemson. Syracuse is playing much better football of late. Lost a tough game to a really good Wake Forest team at home last week. I think this will be a close game. I think Clemson will sneak it out at the end, but I think it'll be much closer than people might think. Oregon should get a win against California this week and then get moved to 5-1 out there in the Pac-12. San Diego State will probably remain undefeated this week at San Jose State. San Jose State, a great story last year, but not playing quite as well this year. I think Cincinnati's got to be very careful this week with UCF. I think UCF will give them a game. I think Cincinnati will win. They could end up with a convincing win on the scoreboard, but I think the game is going to be tougher than maybe people will get it credit for. As UCF's 3-2 and not playing up to what the UCF standards have been in recent years, but I think it's just a blip. Michigan State going to Indiana. Indiana, one of the bigger disappointments in the league in NCAA football, I think, this year, based off of their success last year, bringing so much of that talent back. But I think Michigan State better be careful on the road at Indiana this week. Again, tough 14 battle in that Big Ten East between Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State. They're going to play each other yet. A bunch of those teams are going to play each other yet, and they're going to have to be careful. Texas and Oklahoma State. At Texas. Oklahoma State's undefeated. They played great defense all year. It's odd that the defense is carrying a Mike Gundy team. His offense has usually been his forte. Let me change my banner here before we go on. Oh, that's the wrong week. Now I got to fix it. All right, guys, bear with me. Good TV, Keith. All right, week 7. This is going to be, to me, one of the marquee games. This is one of the games I want to see the line on. It's too early for me to look at the lines, but I don't like. It's possible Oklahoma State's going to be close to a pick 'em, I think, and I think Texas is going to have a bit of a letdown here, and I think Oklahoma State could pull the upset here. Arkansas should beat Auburn. It all depends on whether their quarterback is healthy or not. He's had some injury issues. Jefferson and he didn't play well against Georgia, as we know, and we'll see whether he's got it back together here. See, we got a comment here. Kenny. Yeah, I'm thinking about my boat ride. Good grief. Pretty soon. Tomorrow the plane flies. We fly, then we spend a little time in Orlando, and then we get on a ship on Saturday. Fun. LSU and Florida. LSU's got to get a win. Florida's still ranked number 20, 4-2. Lost to Kentucky last week. Almost beat Alabama a few weeks back. LSU is in must-win mode here. Not just to save their season, but probably to save Ed Orgeron's job. LSU's got a new athletic director, likes to make a splash, likes to go after big names. There's going to be some big names available for him to potentially pick from here. Texas A&M off the big win against Alabama, going to Missouri. That, Missouri's not very good right now, but Texas A&M has been so up and down. John likes Florida against LSU. Yeah, I think Florida will probably win that game myself, John. I think probably putting one of the final nails in Ed Orgeron's coffin, unfortunately. Nebraska, Minnesota. There's a game that I find very interesting. I've been talking a lot about Nebraska and Scott Frost. I think Scott Frost has cooled his hot seat off by playing really well in consecutive weeks against Oklahoma, Michigan State. Not in consecutive weeks. 3 out of the last 4 weeks against Oklahoma, Michigan State, and Michigan. They got a blowout win against Northwestern in the middle of that. They played all 3 of those teams tough. They're starting to find an identity on offense. The culture that Scott Frost wants to build seems to be coming along. They're only 3-4, but this team is a team to be reckoned with. You got to start turning these close games into wins. But I don't think Nebraska is a team anybody's going to want to play the rest of the way here. Gruden is not going to LSU, by the way. Gruden is going nowhere at all. Oh, gosh. I mean, I guess you could say, and I don't want to get onto John Gruden here, but at least he's an equal opportunity basher. He hates everybody. It's just amazing. It's a totally different story, and maybe we'll get into it the next time I have a Sunday show. John's liking the Aggies in that Missouri game. Probably. They're so up and down. I hate to say it. I hate to see it, though. I would like the Huskers, I think, against Minnesota as well. Minnesota up and down. I like PJ Flesch a lot. Really, really good coach. But since they went, I think, 10-2 and finished in the top 10 2 years ago, they're 8-8 and haven't really been able to put it together. You are right. Gruden is done for sure, John. There's no question about that. He will not coach anywhere on any level ever again, or get a TV job or anything. You've seen the last of John Gruden. He'll be living in a spider hole somewhere. Rutgers and Northwestern. Rutgers have been really tough this year, really tough. Northwestern's been down. They got a great coach in Pat Fitzgerald. Rutgers, I always keep saying they don't belong in the Big Ten, but I'm going to take Rutgers on the road here to win this game. Yale and UConn, I will pick for the benefit of Mac McGrath, the leader of us here on the Northeast Streaming Sports Network. And I will pick your UConn team to lose one more time and remain defeated. Yale will beat UConn at home. No, you're wrong, Kenny. Money will not fix this. Money will not fix this. Nothing will fix this. John Gruden has been exposed for the person that he is. Again, it's a different football show, so I don't want to get into it, but it's not going to happen. Rutgers. John and I are on the same page on a couple of games here. Let's see what else we got I like. Duke, Virginia in the ACC. Duke's played better than you think. They're 3-3. They played some teams tough. Virginia, I thought, well, they've got a pretty good team. They're 4-2. They went in, they beat North Carolina in North Carolina. I like Bronco Mendenhall a lot. I'm going to take Virginia to win this game. Kenny, by the way, I promise you 2 weeks from this Sunday, not this Sunday, because if I do a show this Sunday, maybe that's all I'll talk about. Maybe that's a good, if I can get a decent reception on my Wi-Fi to do my show from the middle of the Caribbean, we will maybe just go on and talk about John Gruden for 20 minutes. Sneak away from my wife, go to the bar. Anyway, back to the picks. John Gonzalez is with me on Virginia. Kentucky, Georgia. This is, Rick, you'll love me for this one. Georgia's going to mop the floor with Kentucky. Mark thinks that the Kentucky could surprise Georgia. Kentucky's played really well. I've picked them a bunch of times on the show. I have put a wager in them in our little money pool. But Kentucky's not going to be able to stay with Georgia this weekend. And Georgia's going to show why they're still the best team in the country. Unfortunately I'm not a huge Georgia fan either, so I just think they're too good. The defense is too good, and I don't think Kentucky can score enough points to be in this game in any way, shape, or form. Purdue at Iowa. I'd like Iowa to keep rolling here. Purdue's been better than advertised, but Iowa's just too good on defense, and they'll score enough points to get some wins here. Yes, we know that we know that Mark's in dream mode, and we do know that you we'll have the Bulldogs, and so does John Gonzalez. Kentucky's second-class football. Well, they beat a first-class team and first-class program in Florida last week. They're undefeated, 6-0 in a league that is head and shoulders the best league in the country. 6-0. Can't take that away from them, Kenny. And they got a first-class coach in Mark Stoops. Excellent coach. Okay, what else we got here? Well, this one's for you and I, John Gonzalez. Florida's not first class in football. I mean, did I miss something somewhere? I don't know what I missed, Kenny. Teams ranked in the top 10 consistently for the last 3 decades. Top 15 anyway. I missed something here. You can continue to debate with me as I go on to the next game. North Carolina, Miami. North Carolina, these are 2 of the biggest disappointments on the NCAA landscape, certainly in total and specifically in the ACC. This game's at North Carolina. Gosh, I got to flip a coin. I've got no reason to pick Miami to be able to win at North Carolina, other than that's who I want to win. So I'll take Miami to beat North Carolina with no conviction at all. Pittsburgh, Virginia Tech, a really good game. Virginia Tech beat Notre Dame for all intents and purposes everywhere but the scoreboard, and that's the only place that counts last week. You've got to be able to put those games away. For that reason, I will take Pittsburgh on the road in a tough place to play in Plattsburgh, Virginia. John's taking Miami too. And I'm guessing, John, you're not taking that with much more conviction than I am. So I'm going to take Pittsburgh over Virginia Tech just because Virginia Tech, after last week's blowing of that game against Notre Dame, I just can't pick them again. Who else we got here? Nobody cares about that game. To reiterate, I won't argue with the pick. I'm only taking them against them because they let me down last week. It's a tough place to play in Blacksburg, and it ought to be a good game. The Fresno State-Wyoming game, I'm only going to give you one more time because our friend of the show here, James Lill, who has not commented since I gave him the Rice winner 2 weeks ago, I'm going to take Wyoming as a home dog there. Kenny's still standing in for Billy to push her buttons. Well, Billy doesn't make this show, so Kenny's got to pick up the slack, and that's okay. It's no fun if we all agree on everything, right? Kenny knows the scoop. Believe me, just because I disagree with you doesn't mean I'm right. I think I'm right, but I think I'm right about everything, according to my wife. So often I am, by the way. Anyway, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, got to go with the Gamecocks. Probably nobody cares. Alabama, you know what? Interesting. I would not want to be Mississippi State this week. Alabama's coming to town, and it's going to be ugly when it's all said and done. I'm assuming that Alabama's going to win this game handily over a decent Mississippi State team. But I just don't see how they're going to stay with Alabama, an angry Alabama team. Not relevant since the playoffs. Well, I'll give you that, but look at the league they're playing in. And it's a 14 playoff, let's not forget. And 2 of them are almost always from the SEC, which tells you about the strength of that league that I was commenting on a minute ago. Just a male thing. The being right, yeah, I know. Kenny, if I didn't think you thought you were right, I wouldn't even bother. What else floats my boat? TCU, Oklahoma better be careful. If Lincoln Riley sticks with Spencer Ratliff, and we're going over tonight, we just talked a lot with Larry and a lot with Mark and got off some tangents. Oklahoma better be careful. Lincoln Riley sticks with Spencer Rattler. He's making a mistake. His best quarterback is Caleb Williams. He showed that. The fans know that as they were chanting for him 3 weeks ago. TCU is going to come into Oklahoma. Oklahoma, this could be a big letdown game for them after that huge comeback in the Red River rivalry. I like TCU to keep this game close and possibly pull an upset. I'm not sure I want to go that far out. Sooners for John Gonzalez. I'm not sure where Kenny's getting the second class thing again. Oh, a male thing, second class. Ole Miss in Tennessee. Another place for a possible letdown. A huge back and forth game with Arkansas last week. But as I said earlier when Mark Mancini was on, I think Ole Miss can beat anybody in the country except Alabama and Georgia. And I think they'll beat the Tennessee Volunteers this weekend. NC State goes to Boston College. Boston College gets no love. They're 4-1, 3-1 in the ACC. NC State's very good and ranked. But this game's at home. I'm going to give Boston College a chance to win this game. And see where we go from there. John's on Ole Miss with me. I will take Boston College at home. This ACC's very, 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 even though it's in a down, it seems to be in a down cycle. A lot of these teams can beat up each other. Another Lane Kiffin fan. I didn't say I was a Lane Kiffin fan. I said he's got a great football team. I don't think Lane Kiffin's a great guy. I think he's a great offensive mind. You see last week he doesn't know how to put a defense together. But that team that he's got right now with probably the best quarterback in the country, yes, he's better than Bryce Young, but he doesn't have a better team surrounding him. But they don't play any defense. So I agree with John there. Corral wins the Heisman Trophy. Agreed. Enjoy my cruise and stay safe. Don't forget your picks. Yeah, I know. I got to look at that tonight. I got to get my picks in, and I got to get the apps on my phone so I can do it from the cruise next weekend. Iowa State at Kansas State, another interesting game. Iowa State, one of those disappointing teams. I touted them highly in the preseason. I think it's possible K-State pulls the upset at home here. Well, I say upset. I don't know what the line is in that game, but I'm going to take K-State here over Iowa State. Stanford at Washington State, flip a coin. Stanford's up and down, plays much, much better at home. Washington State, I think, will win this game. Mickey Delaney, if you're still with us, there's a bow to you. I already told you, I think John thinks I'm nuts about this Army-Wisconsin game. At least I think you are telling me that. Army has played tough, and they have played Big Ten teams tough on the road the past 2 years. Please pick Chattanooga. I'm going to pick Chattanooga. I promise you I'll pick Chattanooga. They're my new favorite team, John. UCLA, Washington. I like UCLA to bounce back against the Huskies. Louisiana Tech, UTEP. I don't even have Chattanooga on my what do you call it here? So I'm gonna have to take them to beat Texas San Antonio this weekend. So there's your upset of the week. I'm gonna go with John Gonzalez's Chattanooga. I don't know their nickname. John, help me out. You got to give me their nickname so I can we can tout that. Kenny, have fun. I will have fun. Put the mic down. You need to do a show from the. I will. We'll do that. We'll do a road show this winter when there's about 20 feet of snow on the ground, or next spring. You don't think that's what I see Army getting crushed. I don't. First of all, I don't think Wisconsin's that good. And Army, again, that style of play they play tends to keep games close. Or it could be a blowout. Obviously, when things get out of hand, a team like Army doesn't have the capability coming back. So, but I'm not hedging. That's not hedging my bet. I think Army is in a position to win this game in the fourth quarter. Don't say they'll win. They'll be in a position to win. And the Arizona State-Utah game. Again, Mark loves Arizona State, but I like Utah. You give me a really good team, against another good team and give me points at home, I'm going to take the points at home almost every time. Army deflates the ball and gets teams frustrated. Agreed. Now, I don't think you need to use the term deflate, Kenny, because now you are sounding like Billy. We should do a breakfast show on the mountain, Kenny. Maybe next year. So we're gonna have another happy hour sometime between the holidays, I think. But I think we should schedule a Sunday morning show on the mountain, and we'll have some of you guys are live. We'll have Rick up, Kenny up. Maybe I get Drew to come up. Who knows about Billy? Billy doesn't even know where the heck Bleecker Mountain is, for crying out loud. Actually, he's from Johnstown, so he probably knows. So anyway, guys, that's it. I had a lot of other stuff to cover. But we got weeks to cover. The stuff I have isn't necessarily timely stuff. So it's been an exciting season. The season continues to pull surprises every week. That's a great thing about college football. I love the NFL, but I think college football is even better. And John, I don't think you gave me that nickname yet. John Gonzalez. Where's my nickname for Chattanooga? I want to thank you guys for joining me tonight. Next Wednesday, we'll see. We could come on for a quick update for 15 minutes or so if I have a strong enough Wi-Fi signal in the middle of the Caribbean while I'm having my cocktail and my after-dinner drink possibly next Wednesday night. So at some point, we'll give it a shot. Kenny says, well, what? We're welcome, and we can have pineapple and coconut muffins for Rick. What about Keith? Guys, thanks for showing up tonight. Thanks for watching the show. Thanks for the groups that allow me to share it. Great guys like John Gonzalez. Guys, if you haven't joined the Sports Authority, do that. Keith Engel, TGI Sports Talk, College Football Huddle, right here on Northeast Streaming Sports Network. We'll catch you maybe next week, maybe in a couple of weeks. Have a great night. Have a great college football weekend. Bye-bye.